The live stream is on.
It's too bad Tom Hobbrick isn't here. He would fucking have this thing dialed right in for me.
Okay. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Brushes of Doom podcast, also known as the BODP, with myself here, X, the douchebag that you all love. I'm the 1986 winner of Miss America's pageant, and today I have an amazing artist. I know I say this every time, but it's because I genuinely only like to talk to people that not only can bring something for you guys, but genuinely have great work to inspire you. In a world of people where, especially in the tattoo industry as well as artistry, you see a lot of people that are shifting between going to hyperrealism and neo-traditional and all these things, and everything's expanding in the world. And then you have like a specific amount of artists in this industry that are just illustrators. Like, to me, a true artist, something that when they look at a piece of paper and a pencil, they just, second it starts going, it's like the Roadrunner. You just can't catch up to it. And there are, hundreds of thousands of talented people out there, including you listening right now. But there are very few people who are like this, where I look at their work and every single time it's just solid, 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 solid. And to me, it's important to have people like this because it really does push the boundaries of keeping almost a traditional standpoint on a craft, as well as keeping a very, very open mind to the idea of originality. And I feel that if we don't encourage to know more about artists like this, or their work, or the company they keep, you tend to lose it amongst, as someone myself who does a lot of photorealism, you tend to lose a lot of chances for expansion of originality. So without further ado, the artist formerly known as Adam Hathorn, Honky Konger.
Hello. Am I blushing after all those nice words?
Yeah, no worries.
I wish you could see myself now. I guess I can in the reflection of the computer.
So how are you doing today, brother? That was a debacle of an hour of us trying to figure out how to get your computer to work.
I'm full on caveman with these things. I apologize.
No worries at all, dude.
It's a real shit show, but we did it.
Yes, we did. So how are you doing this morning, man?
Great. I've been up for like ever. Baby's up early, made her breakfast, did the whole shebang, even took a shower before I did this. Got my coffee, ready to rumble.
Oh yeah. So let's talk a little bit about yourself, man. Your name is Adam Hathorn, also known as Honky Konger to a lot of people. Now, I've heard your name years ago from a artist from Bakersfield. There's another artist that has been mentioned. Well, he's been on the podcast before, but his name's R.C. Kelly.
Okay.
And a lot of these people were always talking about two artists, and they were like, yeah, man, because for anyone that doesn't know, East California is predominantly traditional, neo-traditional driven, with black and gray. And they would always be, yeah, RC, man, his roses, his composition, you gotta look up that guy, or Honky Konger. And I was like, all right, cool. And it was a consistent trend with different shops that I got to know over time and friends, and I always heard the name. And then one day I looked you up and I was like, holy shit, goddamn, like, this is amazing. And
thanks.
Oh no, it's true, dude. It sounds like I'm licking your balls, but
oh no, I do that too. I really appreciate that. Those words are not, just nice to hear. But thank you.
You're all, no worries, lick away. And it really was a great thing, because I think the interesting thing about your art as well as your style is you have this amazing ability to keep the fine line between old school and new school. Where did you start off as an artist?
As a tattooer, I started in Savannah, Georgia. I went to art school in Savannah College of Art and Design. I think I graduated high school in 96, so I think I started college in 97 or 98. And I got my apprenticeship in my sophomore year, beginning of my sophomore year. I got it offered to me in my freshman year, but I was heading back to Boston, which is where I'm from, for the summer. And they said, well, if you want this apprenticeship when you get back, come talk to us. We'll see what we can do. So of course, I was itching to get back there so I could try and get that. And but yeah, while I was going to school, I was also apprenticing a place called Alien Arts Tattoo in Savannah, Georgia.
Nice.
So that's where I got my start tattooing.
Now, as far as drawing, how long have you been doing that? Has it been something that you fell into, or something you just always were doing?
No, it's been all that I've ever really cared about doing. Like notebooks from high school are just filled with like, pus head rip off drawings and whatever cool shit I could find. I was just redrawing those things, cartoons, skate magazines, tons of skate graphics. Just like I find these old sketchbooks with like logos, just redrawing logos and every cartoon character and all that kind of stuff. So it's been forever, which kind of bothers me because I see these kids that just start tattooing and they just started drawing when they started tattooing and they're fucking good. Like these kids are fucking good. I'm like, Jesus Christ, how do you tattoo so good and draw so good? But the internet, the internet's huge. So I think with the internet being huge, you can you can be anything you want. So it makes things easier.
I find that to be completely, true because myself, I was never an artist
Before tattooing.
before tattooing because I was a musician, and when it came down to it, I was around a bunch of great artists who all they did was art, and it was amazing because everything musically came easy to me. Everything with instruments came super, just like I understood theory, I understood rhythm, groove, feel, and then I came over here and I couldn't draw a little traditional eye to save my life.
Yeah.
They're like, just draw an almond and draw two circles. I was like, I can't, it's impossible. But it was so hard that it made you realize, or made myself realize, like, wow, I can't just do this, and it made me appreciate something that I couldn't just pick up and run with.
Yeah.
And it does frustrate me as well because now I see some of these kids, like there's this kid named Jake Tattoos out in Australia,
Uh-huh.
and the dude's phenomenal, but it's like you see him or Christian Casas and tattooing like 5 years, 3 years, and they're just killing it. And I'm like, all right, well, fuck me, right?
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Like tons of them. You see that, like you see a bunch of their tattoos. You're like, damn, that motherfucker's bad. And then you see a picture of them like at their prom 2 years ago, and you're like, what the fuck? Like you were at the prom 2 years ago. I was,
I was at that same prom.
yeah, yeah, it's crazy. So, but it's awesome. I mean, I don't want to be one of those old salty motherfuckers. It's like, oh, you got to do it the whole, you know what I mean? Fucking this, that, or the other thing. Except for apprenticeships, you got to do fucking apprenticeship. If you don't do a fucking apprenticeship, fuck out of here.
Okay, let's start on that right there, because the thing that I find funny is I did the old school traditional apprenticeship, and I think a lot of people now, which it's hearsay on some people, others it's a must have. On one of the past podcasts, we had Joe Capobianco on, and we were shooting the shit.
Joe's hilarious. I need to listen to that one.
Oh, there's two of them. One of them is just
not for nothing. Not for nothing.
not for nothing.
He's hilarious. I love it.
The first one we were on was basically about how he started and just this idea of how tattooing goes. The second one was on the idea of tattoo schools and the importance of apprenticeships and the importance of communication. And he made a very good point along the lines of, when you're doing an apprenticeship, you're in the position that you have to not only learn how a shop works, but you're earning your place amongst friends. You're learning the things that years and years of mistakes and hundreds of drawings thrown away are being given to you by other peers.
Yeah.
The downside is you have a lot of shops that they were treated like shit. So they treat people super like shit. And the worst part about it is some of their art is shit. So you're teaching bad habits to possibly good artists.
Yeah. Well, I've always told people that ask me about it. I mean, I've always said "fuck out of here" to every person that's come to me for an apprenticeship. Besides now, we have one here at the shop now, but he's he can draw and he can do all kinds of shit. And he just we told him no, and he was like, "Well, how about I come by, clean a bunch of shit, and whenever you guys are tired of me cleaning your shit, you can tell me to go home." And I was like, "Okay, come clean some shit." So he still hangs out and he draws, and he's pretty bad little fucker, but he's also a 20 something year old kid. So he's like, it's like having a child around here. But bust his balls, but we don't beat him up. We don't fucking tase him and do all that shit. I don't like piss in a corner and make him clean it up with, like whatever. I don't know what the fuck all that shit was. Like I get the hazing portion of it. It doesn't have to be something insane. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
we bust his balls all the time. We yell at him to go do shit, go do this, go do that. But we're making him do legitimate shit. Like, I need a sandwich. Go get me a fucking sandwich.
Yeah.
I'm not just creating dumb bullshit for him to do that with. I don't want him to hate being here. I want him to like being here. I want him to learn. He's like a little sponge. He wants to do this, wants to do that, wants to paint the Sailor Jerry's Flash. He wants to do script. He wants to do all the shit. So it's cool. But generally, it's been, just some kid that, thinks he's a fucking street artist or some bag that just is like, yeah, I just showed up here and I want to be your apprentice. And I'm like, okay, who the fuck are you? What do you have? Like, they're like, oh, I got some drawings and stuff. I'm like, you thought it was a good idea to show up here without fucking drawings? Like, and I'm like, no, get the fuck out of here. I've told every single one of them to kick rocks, and until Benji showed up, and so we're giving him a shot, and he seems like he's gonna do all right. Now the thing is, for me, is I don't know shit about tattooing. I only know how to do what the fuck I do. So we gotta. I mean, we have a pretty well-rounded shop full of artists, and everybody's pretty down for him. So everybody can teach him some shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's good. But he's also gonna have to learn some shit on his own. Go get tattooed by some dudes that do some shit that you want to do, so you can pay attention to them, because that's how the fuck it always was, right? Like,
Well,
you want to learn a tattoo like that guy? Go get tattooed by that guy.
yes, and I think that's the crazy.
Like, if you're broke, become his fucking friend. Go to convention, buy him a couple beers, fucking pick his brain a little bit. If he wants to tell you, he'll tell you. If not, then fucking you're gonna have to figure it out.
Yeah, and it's completely true, because the crazy thing is that back in the day, I remember that you would have to take if you went into a shop, you should have went in there with a nice portfolio.
Yeah.
Some watercolor sheets, some tattoos, the drawings, everything, basically like you were going in as a graphic designer and telling them this is what I could do. And if you, even then, your perseverance was based upon, like, did you go to when the Cow Palace Expo up in Frisco used to be the shit in the 90s, you would go there and you would sit there and you would wait all day to get tattooed, and you would just watch what they're doing, shoot the shit, and eventually you earn the right to be around this person.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
it gets lost now, because I mean, if you were to tell a lot of newcomers that try to come into the industry or into the craft, it's like, to each their own. There's some people who generally don't understand, but I also believe that there's a lot of people who are just naive to the entire fact of, like, you have to really put in the work to get this, because they see a tattoo show and then they're like, oh, okay, well then I can come in and I can just join because that's what they showed me.
Let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah, let's do it.
Do you watch that fucking Inked Angel show?
Okay, so I'll say this real quick. I have never in my life ever watched any of the shows, even since my. No, I'm serious. I've never have, because I don't like reality TV to begin with. But shit. I did work with Ruthless, who was on LA Inc. Obviously, been friends with Joe and Josh Bodwell, who was on Epic Inc. And I know a few other people who have been on shows working with, a few of people that have been on, like, the what is it? The other one was not Ink Masters. I think it was just called Inked. Anyways, I saw every single one of those people go through what really happens behind the camera. I see what the real thing is and how they do it and how they cheat and how they so forth. Not the artists, but how studios make us look like assholes.
Oh, for sure.
And it only encouraged me to never watch one of those shows.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
I would never be on one of those shows.
Right.
But I sure as fuck watch them because they're so entertaining. They're hilarious. I watch the shows for many reasons, but one is to learn about new styles of tattooing. They have one that's like, okay, here's the deal, artists. Go ahead and do your own, whatever your thing is, just tell us what style you're working in. And some dude was like, what did he say? Biomechanical Mother Earth is the style. And I'm like, what the fuck did you just say? That's your style of tattooing? Biomechanical Mother Earth? Get the fuck out of
Did he fucking transform when he was done saying that?
Yeah, right? You know, I'm just like, holy shit. But here's my thing. I guess I brought this up because of the apprenticeship thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course.
I watched the Inked Angels the other night
Mm-hmm.
when they were at fucking Tattoo City.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Ed Hardy and Doug were on there. Great, awesome. You know, I
Yes.
don't know if that's great publicity for them or whatever, but I was just like, so they have these two other fucking jokers on the show going against Doug Hardy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they come in and they're just like I'm not even shake your hand. Fuck you. You know, that kind of shit. It's like bullshit. I'm sure it's all for TV, and I'm
Of
sure behind
course,
the
of
scenes they're
course.
probably not like that. But the guy that wins has been tattooing for 2 fucking years and never did an apprenticeship. He just like decided he's gonna pick up some tattoo shit and fucking watch some online videos, and he's now a tattooer. Granted, the tattoo he did was pretty fucking clean. It was probably way cleaner than I would do it. But I was just like, man, you can't be glorifying this fucking non-apprenticeship bullshit. You are fucking suspect. Anybody that's behind any of that shit is suspect. And it's like, fuck out of here with it. Don't make a fucking show. Don't put anybody on these fucking shows that hasn't done an apprenticeship. I don't give a fuck.
Mm-hmm.
I got friends that haven't done apprenticeships. Sorry if this fucking bothers you, but all you're doing is you're creating this fucking group. Hopefully my mom doesn't look at this interview because I'm cursing. Getting mad now. But if you
Mrs.
can't,
Hawthorne, I promise he's a good boy. I promise he's got a good soul.
yeah. Sorry,
No,
mom.
no, no. But you know, let me stop you there if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I agree because there are certain people that I look at that genuinely just take off and they have a knack for something,
For
and
sure.
if they don't have the apprenticeship, I believe 90% of the time of people I've met, like recently at the Brussels and the Florence convention, you see some people that are just taking off and they have a lot of humbleness to them,
Yeah.
unless.
I'm not saying if you didn't do an apprenticeship,
Oh
you're an
yeah,
asshole. You shouldn't be tattooing.
but
I'm just saying, like, let's not glorify it on TV so every kid in the world just goes and picks up their own shit and does it.
and that's the thing is that most of these people that when they're humble, they do genuinely are like, but I learn like they claim the self-taught thing, but they never push it that like, hey, I did not have an apprenticeship. It's more like, hey, you know what, I'm still learning. The people
Yeah.
that do push that and are like, oh man, I don't need anyone to teach me because anyone ain't gonna do nothing. It's like
Yeah.
those are the ones that get the FaceTime because it is drama and people love drama. So
Exactly.
a funny thing about those tattoo shows is I'm not gonna mention one of them. I think I've said this before with Joe about one, but like the way the show is laid out, like many shows, allegedly, I have to say that they have, let's say yourself, they have what's his name, let's say they have Joe, and then they have Matt Buck out of NYC.
Uh-huh.
And you guys are three killer artists, and they're gonna say, okay, you guys went, Adam, you're number one. You're gonna win it by for sure. But if anything happens, we have two other badasses to make it work. Then we have five average people that can hold their own decently, but not too much. And then we have two guys. One is possibly an MMA fighter, and the other one's like a part-time glue sniffer.
Scratcher.
Yeah, part-time glue sniffer, and you have no idea why.
Yeah.
You don't know they're there. And the idea is they create all this drama, and people feed off of that. They believe that that's what it is. And then when they tell you to vote for Adam Hawthorne and make sure that Honky Congress number one, you've already won 6 months before they cast everybody. The thing is that that's how they make their money off of the viewer
Yeah.
and go from there. Now, the sad part is that when people come into the shops, they think that that hectic dynamic is what sells, is what works. And like if you're not fighting and trying to make your way, you're always going to fall. And like you're right, it really sucks that because you get the people that, like you said, your apprentice, he came in and he's trying to prove himself. When I
Yeah.
started my apprenticeship, I hung behind a counter for 6 months just
Yeah.
watching them. They wouldn't talk to me. They wouldn't do anything. And then after 6 months, they were like, hey, man, we had a shop meeting. Like, we'll let you throw our trash for about a year. And I was like, "Pff, I'll fucking overhand that shit. I'll fucking 3-point line it. I got fancy, dude.
Yeah.
Nobody threw better trash than I did for at least a year.
Sure.
But I mean, I wanted it that bad.
Yeah.
So I do agree with you. And the sad part is like, even though it is entertaining to people, it's kind of a devil's advocate thing. Like you're gonna see Ed, you're gonna see a lot of these professionals that go on, and you would want to give FaceTime if you had the platform to people that are like real innovators of the craft or the industry. But at the same time, every time you do something that's progressive towards them, it's also where the this TV studio is like, well, that's great that you have Ed Hardy on here, but let's have some guy disrespect him, and you're like, well, why? Like, why can't we just show who they are?
That was just the part that bummed me out. They got these fucking dudes rolling into Tattoo City,
Yeah,
acting, like not shaking Doug's hand. It's like, don't you get the fuck out of here? Like, I got mad for Doug. I was like, and he's such a nice guy that
yeah,
he just
he
like,
is.
he's like, well, all right, he's so nice, and it's like, man, fuck this fool. But I know it's all the TV show. I'm getting mad over nothing. But
Yeah, but people that don't know that think that that's okay. And
yeah,
the worst part about it is that I understand where you're getting upset because I remember when Peter Cascella, he's an artist up in Oregon right now, but when he was working in Los Angeles, he was my coworker at the time, and this dude was the one who tattooed Rihanna, or I'm sorry, who tattooed Chris Brown, and
hmm
people said it was Rihanna being beat up on his neck. And
yeah,
and I remember when Entertainment News or whatever they're called came to the shop in West Hollywood,
oh,
and I'm looking over, and there were people that were just trying to lynch him because
yeah,
he got something that had nothing to do with her, but like the composure that he had and the kind-hearted person that he is, he was like, you know what, man, the whole world. This is why famous people go crazy. He goes,
yeah,
it's a witch hunt, and he goes, I did what the guy asked me, exactly the way he said it, and you know what? He goes, it sucks that they're coming after me, but this is life, man. And if you're going to be rude, then it's only going to twist it to make you look even worse. So he goes, just try to be kind. So when you see some like asshole on TV going up to Doug or to Ed or to, I mean, even like if Philadelphia, Eddie was still around, like if you would go up to him and just be like, I'm not going to shake your hand. You would
yeah.
be like, you motherfucker, like get the
Yeah.
torches and
Well,
pitchforks.
as far as the episode goes, Ed was out of there before anybody showed up.
Of
Like he talked
course.
for a minute, then he dipped out and said, "Good luck," just like left. He dipped out before the drama started. Thank God, because I mean, I can't imagine if that dude showed up and was like, "I'm not going to shake Ed Hardy's hand in his own shop." I mean, it's not like Ed would whoop his ass, but I'm pretty sure there's probably about 1,000
Oh yeah.
motherfuckers that might go find that dude.
Um, so,
Whatever.
oh yeah.
Maybe too much talk about reality TV. That was just
Oh,
my some of my problems with it. I mean, clearly you have bigger problems because you don't even watch it. I watch it. I watch it just to get angry. Apparently,
but you know what? No. I mean, like I don't watch it because for two main reasons. One, I've just never been a fan of any reality TV,
I
and two,
love reality.
and two, I don't have cable. Like I
I love
purposely
it.
don't have it.
We're so different.
Yin and yang, my friend. Yin and yang. But yeah, no. It definitely, the reason getting into that to me is important is because it's how the impression of the industry has started, and how looking back at like now to you artistically, I really love like even some of the drawings behind you. For anyone that's on the audio podcast, you can also go to the YouTube, of course, for free and check out what I'm seeing. And there's all these amazing, beautiful drawings and pieces on the wall, which is extremely old school. What I love to see when you have all the paper just stuck to a wall because it's all your
Yeah,
projects.
that was actually all my business partner here is one of my best friends
Hmm.
ever, and I used to work with him at Guru before here. But that was, I mean, they're all of ours. Everybody that works here. Tom Hobbrick and Adam Harper. Uh, so they're all ours. Whenever we leave those behind, goes through and tapes them up on the wall, and I think it looks cool.
Yeah, it does.
This is just our little art area. I had it set up when we were on before we tried to use my caveman computer. I had it set up in my booth so you could see like, weird shit I got hanging in there. But we're
Uh,
in the break room, or
no,
the drawing room.
it's amazing because it's also a point of reference. Like it encourages you when you're drawing to look at something else and be like, you know what, I should probably try doing my flowers like that, but just draw it my own way, or I should do this or that. And that's the thing that why the TV reality stuff kind of does fit into the conversation is you don't see a lot of that promoted. You don't see
Yeah.
like how an old school shop really runs where now,
They all got their fucking computers they draw on, and
well, I mean, it's like Taki from State of Grace and I were talking about that, the difference between drawing digitally and physically. And I do both. I'm an
everybody
enthusiast.
here has one. I don't have one just because I haven't. I'm still a caveman. I'm not talking shit about those
No,
things, but
no,
it's
no, no,
just
no, no,
crazy.
no.
You watch the show, it's like, here's this thing I came up with on my digital pad with it's airbrushed with this fucking shit.
Well,
I'm just like,
I,
get out of
I
here.
think that genuinely people that draw on nothing but an iPad. I mean, it is very convenient. You can do quick
Yeah,
mock-ups and all this stuff, and it is fun when you're traveling. But
yeah, for
you
sure.
can never beat the feel of a pencil or a brush in your hand because you'd have complete control. And the funny thing is that once it's on the paper, you have to work with it
Yeah,
or try to erase as best as you can. You can't just keep, like, oh, I don't like it and whatever.
just layers and layers and layers.
Yeah. So when you're
And I feel
looking,
like a lot of people are pulling shit off the internet too, and then they're just like tracing that shit. They're like, I can just squeeze this down, this rose right over here, this, that, and I can jumble all these things together in this Photoshop app. And I'm just gonna trace this shit. Which,
and
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not against tracing shit either.
well,
I
I
don't
mean,
do any photorealism. I get you got to do it for that for sure, but I feel like sometimes people are just, you
well,
know,
it's a cop out. It's a real easy cop out. I mean,
is it really cheating, or is it just technology? It's like this is how the fuck you do things. This is how you make a nice tattoo.
and the crazy thing too is like going to that is where people genuinely, when they talk about like tracing on an iPad. The thing is that I had a conversation with this guy who's like super bold will hold, and anything that's not traditional is wrong.
Uh,
And of course, I'll have a conversation. I want to understand where he's coming from, and the dude was like, you know what, man, like you can get it from Pinterest, you can get it from here and there, and you know what, that's no one's original anymore. I go, how many times have I seen you draw out of an Ed Hardy book? How many times have I seen you go in a Joe Capobianco or a Big Me's or the original lettering books and angel stuff from Steve Soto and all of them that came out years ago? And I go, I see you tracing, and it's not your rose. And he goes, oh, that's different. I go, that's not different. That's a physical Pinterest. Like,
yeah, for sure.
but you learn it and you hope to get past it. If you're stuck in always like, I got a copy, or someone asks you, like the best advice I ever got from my old shop owner was, he goes, draw me a name right now. I'm going to give you just a random name. I said, okay. And he said, draw me Maria. I was like, all right. And I sketched in front of him, and it wasn't that great. And he goes, all right, check this out. And he just whips out some really beautiful script, and it says Maria. And he goes, if you cannot draw what someone asks you, even to a decent mock up, you really
Uh,
need to work on your art.
yeah,
You know what I mean? He goes, unless you have those fundamentals, you're always going to struggle. So work at to where you're at. So the point I was making about the TV shows and stuff now to this is it's it's really encouraging to see artists like you and you have Timmy B, Matt Buck, a lot of the guys who have a very solid base, but you guys also have a very illustrative style,
hmm,
and it's nice because you see everybody's going for hyperrealism these days, which 10 years ago was like the creme de la creme. And there's nothing wrong with it. I'm not shitting on anybody who does it. But
yeah,
you're starting to see less and less, or you were starting to see less and less of just people coming out and drawing something like you're telling a story with the whole piece. You're tracing out an arm. You're doing the whole tracing paper around the body parts and
yeah.
just the way it used to be done. And now you're seeing kind of a second revival of that. And in my opinion, out of many people that I follow and look up to, you're one of my favorites, as well as you're one of the guys that is kind of predominantly doing it in California, as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, but it's definitely true, man. Because the thing is that the proof is in the pudding. I see a lot of people who do super traditional. There's a guy that's out your way called Cole Strim, and I remember being an apprentice the same time he was, and the dude was like, "I just want to do super clean traditional," and I
Uh,
was like, "Cool, dude, no problem." And as I saw him progress, I was like, "Wow!" Like the more simple he does stuff, the more you appreciate it because you do
for
so much with
sure.
little. And then I started finding out stuff like yours and all these other guys that were doing the mix of neo and illustrative art, and it's just like, man, that right there is like telling a story, but in a genuine composition. Like it's very old school. I miss when you would do tattoos and like every piece was its own story, but at the same time as you could tie it into a sleeve and it would make sense. There was a lot of structure to it, rather than just like, I want that infinity sign with a cross upside
Yeah.
down with 20 names on it.
Well, I feel like when I started tattooing, I guess I started probably right at 2000, 2001,
Hmm.
2000, I'd say, I guess. Uh, around that time period, even, and before when I was an apprentice, everybody was striving to be different.
Hmm.
Everybody was like, man, I want to have this style. I want to be this style, dude. I want to be, like, I want my snakes to be different than everybody else. I want my roses to be different. And the shit's not always good. You know what I mean? There's classics. Like, I really love traditional tattooing, probably traditional Japanese and American, like the most. I just am not good at sticking to rules. So I fucking draw it my own way so nobody can, I mean, people can still bust my balls. But I try and, as time is going on, as I'm getting older, I'm trying to, shake some of my old problems where like I feel like we clearly know that traditional tattooing traditionally is the way things are going to hold up the best. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Heavy black, heavy color, skin, some skin highlights and whatever. So I try and do that. I still break the rules. I still am like, oh shit, like I got to beef up these lines because I fucked that line up. You know what I mean? Or I got to black shade off this, whatever. But I try and tattoo as traditionally as I can. I'm sure there's a million traditional dudes that would love to just slap me across the face for saying that. But I generally do single pass line work. I do heavy black shading. I do put in, heavy color. I do milk up my colors sometimes more than, those types of dudes would ever do. But I try and keep to that. In the older I'm getting, this more simpler I'm going with them just because I like a more simpler look instead of putting a bunch of little shit in things. When I
Hmm.
catch myself doing it, it's hard to break old habits, but I really do appreciate simpler things, like these guys that are doing just real simple shit, but it's like that's the hardest shit to me. Like you
Yeah.
can sit there and tweak out a bunch of little things in something and fool people into thinking that you're detail oriented, like all the bells and whistles, the crowd pleasers and shit. But when you can do, these guys put out like fucking 3 ink caps, you know what I mean? And
Yes.
they have a line drawing that's just simple as shit, and they do that, and then it's just badass. And when that person gets lowered into a grave, it's going to look pretty much the same as it does right after they do the tattoo. That to me is impressive. That's some of the most impressive tattooing there is. It's hard to draw though. Like, I mean, traditional stuff
Yeah.
is some of the hardest. Like trying to draw a traditional pinup. I've tried doing that before. Like with the just like the little like dot eye, like the real simple shit. And to make that look right is you better break out those books and trace those motherfuckers. You're not gonna be able to. I mean, I can't do that
Well,
shit.
I mean, the Taki, going back to that podcast, was very honest about it, where he says, he studied with, I think it was Hideyoshi the Third,
Hmm.
and he was saying that when he first started in the '90s, he was like, "Oh man, I want to draw my own stuff," and they were telling him like, "You think like copy the masters,
Hmm.
trace
Oh, for
them
sure.
every single day," and he was like, "Well, no, I want to do my own stuff. I don't want to copy anybody." And they go, "You think you're better than the masters?" Like learn those repetitions.
I think everybody, when you start your
Oh,
apprenticeship,
of
you want to keep
course.
it. Like, I want to do my own shit. It's like, I mean, my apprenticeship was like that though. My apprenticeship, was the end of the '90s in Savannah, Georgia, and
Hmm.
those dudes weren't traditionalists. You know what I mean? So I didn't have a traditional apprenticeship. They didn't know shit about machine building and whatever. I mean, I built all the needles for the shop. I did that kind of shit. But like everything else was just kind of like they were winging it themselves. They didn't. They weren't traditional tattooers. I don't think anybody like that period in time in Savannah. I mean, it was like there was like biker tats
Hmm.
and art school tats. That's the shop I worked in was the art school one, and not taking anything away from those biker dudes too. There's a spot down there called California Tattoo, which like reared some of the like great tattooers today. Like Chad Ranillo, and uh, there's just a gang of dudes that that was just like it was like a production shop. They were doing
Right.
18 tattoos a day to 20 tattoos a day. Like if you made it, if a customer made it in the door before 10 o'clock, you're staying and tattooing them. They'd have a whole room full of people. But that taught to those dudes way quicker than me. Like I was just tattooing some friends after hours and shit. After a year or so of apprenticing.
Hmm.
So, and who knows how long it was after that until something came back looking good enough to let me do some kanjis or whatever. Like it was a little while, but
Do
yeah.
you do you feel? I mean, because it's interesting what you were saying before, and even listening to that, where you've been around long enough that you see that there is the whole argument of, bold will hold versus if you're too bold, you're too old kind of thing. And and one of my buddies who's been tattooing for a long time told me that as a joke, and I genuinely got a chuckle out of it. And one of his artists at his shop is like a super traditional guy, and
Uh,
the discontent on his face when you heard that, because he's such an old school biker guy,
uh,
was amazing. But he goes like, he had said it to me where he was like, either you're on one side of the spectrum or you're on the other. And as I come to talk to more people, I find that that's not necessarily true.
I don't
And,
agree with that.
and yeah,
Uh,
I
'Cause I mean, I've been asked this question before. Clearly, it's every tattooer discusses this shit. Of course, there's like a lot of traditional dudes hate color portraits and whatever, and vice versa, and everybody hates this guy and that guy for doing this shit.
yeah,
And it's like and I lean more towards the traditional side of things because I just like bold stuff. Just the way I like to draw and shit is bold,
yeah,
and like how I like those things. But I can look at all kinds of tattooing and respect it for being good. There's
hmm,
fucking you can look at color portraits and be like, God damn, and you see that shit like as long as they're putting black in that shit, it's gonna hold up. It's gonna hold up well, whatever.
yeah,
And the thing I think is funny about it is that like there's extremes on either side as well. I mean, you got your super extreme color portraits that are tattooing with like white and like pastel pink only, making rose sleeves that look like they're dripping wet and shit. It's like, well, you got that shit. It's not going to hold up well over time. Then you
hmm,
have your extreme traditional dudes. Usually these ones are like 2-year traditionalists. They've been tattooing for a couple years under some traditional dudes and they want to go over the board with it. And they'll
yeah,
do fucking rose this big with an 18 round, fucking hammer the dog shit out of it. And it's like, okay, now you got a fucking scar. At least it's a colored portrait. I can go right the fuck over that without even having to hit it with a laser. Your
right,
shit, or you black pepper shaded a fucking chick's cheek straight across the motherfucker like this, and it looks like she got a 5 o'clock shadow. And it's like there's ways to do that right. Like dudes, there's traditional dudes that can do that. Do like a black pepper shade on a girl's face. I could never.
yeah.
Like how to do that. I
Well,
don't tattoo a lot of like hot chicks or anything, so it's like whatever. But there's dudes that do that. They can just go in there real quick, pepper shade some black into a girl's cheek, and it looks sick. But then you got these, it's generally the younger kids.
yeah,
They're traditionalists. They want to shit on everything. Fuck this guy, doesn't know shit.
yeah.
And then they hammer dog shit. It's like, man, your fucking traditional fucking dudes that you respect would not do what the fuck you're doing. They're not hammering these, like scarring people for life with these god awful fucking things that you call traditional. It's not traditional, dude. It's just fucking ugly.
I think
So,
it, I think it's part of being young, like the whole idea of that I know it all and so forth and
yeah.
so on. And I mean,
And I was there too.
yeah,
Trust me.
we've all been there, and that's the
I
thing.
knew everything. I knew everything when I was in my 20s.
Of
Now
course,
that I'm 40, I don't know shit.
and
I
that's
don't
the
know how it happened.
and that's the crazy thing is that like you hit it on the head where it's like it's almost that they want to prove to everybody else because they're younger. They want that spotlight on having that persona that they've got their shit together when
Yeah.
everyone else took twice as long. And my original question was like, I don't agree with it's black and white. You're on one side, you're on the other, because you do see so many people who are like, oh my god, if you're traditional and you don't like photorealism, like oh they can't pull any lines, and then vice versa. You
Uh,
have guys on the realism side that would say, "Oh man, those guys can't blend colors for shit," and it's
yeah,
always this weird fight. But it's interesting because you yourself are like you were saying, you by super like straight up traditional guys, you break the rules of what
for
they
sure.
can of what they consider to be like, well, quote unquote, my fingers are up, sacred. And the thing is that do you find it hard as a tattooer and an artist for the style that you do, because people always look at it as black and white, either you're realism or you're not, or you're either traditional or you're not, but you're in that fine medium where you're just going outside the box. Do you find it hard to find your place amongst traditional tattooers as well as photorealism guys, because you're not really necessarily on one side? Because you'll when you go to a convention, you'll have some artists that like to be like, oh well, let's talk about how traditional it should be done or so forth, and they always want it the way that they know it.
Yeah.
And you don't really like, you and a lot of other illustrators have you guys have your own styles, but you don't
Uh,
really fit anywhere. Did you ever find that to be hard when you first started?
uh, no, I think I've always had friends that do all kinds of different tattooing. You know what I mean?
Nice.
Mostly, let's say my friends are mostly traditionalists or like illustrative kind of weird shit that I do. You know, you kind of make friends with other people that do shit that's similar to what you do. You know,
Of course.
I was always put in the new school box, like more so in the beginning, which I fucking hated from the beginning, and I hate it now. I just hate the term. It's like fuck out of here. It feels like it's the '90s when they say that shit. You know, but you know, yeah, I mean, I've got friends that do all kinds of different shit, you know, and some that can respect what I do. I'm sure there's plenty of traditional dudes that look at my shit and be like, fuck out of here with this garbage, you know, which is fine. I mean, you know, I do the same thing with people all the time. You know, I like their shit 1 minute and the next minute I'm like, that's hot garbage, dude, you know, but whatever. I don't find it hard to fit in with anybody. I mean, I don't ever like. I got friends that suck at tattooing that are my friends because they're my friends. I got friends that are way good at tattooing. They're friends way better than I could ever be. They're friends with me just because we're friends. You know, they're not. You know, whatever. I mean, I can respect whatever type of tattooing people do as long as it's not like, you know, I don't know,
Bad tattooing,
scarring people.
yeah. I get you.
If it's just god awful, it's just god awful.
Do
Give me
you?
1 sec. I gotta let my apprentice in the fucking front door.
Yeah, go for it, dude. So for anyone that's listening right now, the funny thing about like talking to Adam is, like I said, I do encourage you. There's photos and some video of his work online, as well as the images that are behind him. It's outstanding. Like, it's really great to see somebody who has a lot of old school traditional values in the sense of like sketching, because I'm a person that's very deep into illustrative art, as well as, I never knew the word for it, but it's very much like a graphic style of art. And because I was always interested in like photorealism, it really, really was something that I felt that I needed to stick with, because I couldn't get better at anything else. Then I'm looking at the stuff behind him, and it does have a blend of
Yeah, it's live. So don't fucking take it. Yeah, you're on it right now, so get the fuck out of here. You can put your head in real quick and say, hello, that's Benji, that's the apprentice.
Was handing
hey,
in.
how's it going, man? But like I was,
come here 1 second. Come here, check this out. This is why we almost didn't hire him.
What? Can you see?
Fucking, can you see his face?
oh, did you have a bridge?
No, he's got 2 dots tattooed in the middle of his fucking forehead. That's why he almost didn't get the job. Come on, get out of here. Drunk in Mexico City, he gets 2 dots in the middle of his eyeballs.
Well, at least it was
He only gets tattooed by his friends, too.
nice.
That don't tattoo. There's a lot of tattoos from anybody that can tattoo. He only wants shitty ones. Another reason I like him.
We're just too old to understand, man. You have a Hotmail account. I got a Earthlink.
Hotmail. I got a couple of emails. That was my first one, and I still use it. My other one goes to my assistant because I can't be responsible for setting appointments. Like most things in life, if it wasn't for my wife, I wouldn't be alive. I don't think I'd have a home. I'd be a homeless dude, or I'd be living in the shop or something.
Those years are definitely our make and break years. The thing before I continue what I was saying while you were walking away was like, for anyone that's out there, like, you know, I was saying I really do like a graphic style of art. And when I first started off tattooing, it was like Nico, Carlos Torres, Bob Tyrell, all these guys that were killing it. And I was like, I have to be like that. I love noir. I love faces. I love photorealism. And then the older I get, I realize, fuck, dude, you're a kid. You didn't know shit. Like, look at everything that's bold, and you realize how much more that makes your art better. Because even if you do love photorealism, there's people like Steve Wimmer out there who is...
He worked at Guru. He worked with me for like a minute. But I'll tell you what, right now, if I saw his face, I wouldn't be able to tell you who he is.
I've never.
I worked at Guru Tattoo. He worked at the other Guru Tattoo. I met him at a shop meeting once, and then he dipped and did his own thing. He just said, "See you later." He was there for like 2 months or some shit. He's bad, dude. Though.
Fuck yeah, he is. And it's like the importance of having like a real good understanding of multiple styles to blend in what you want to do. Because I can respect the guy that can pull a or gal that can really pull the cleanest line and then still bring out a portrait super soft, let alone with the freaking liner needle.
Oh yeah, those are the most impressive tattooers. Are the ones that are just dudes that work at street shops. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Like fuck a guy like me that's doing the same tattoo. I do the same tattoo every day. You know what I mean? A bunch of bugged out eyeballs, tongues, teeth, fucking, whatever kind of animal fucked another animal, made a different kind of animal. I do that shit all day, every day. The most impressive dude is the dude that can stand there and whatever walks in the door, he's just like, gotcha. Like, I've worked with so many people over the years that just do that. They can do a fucking, like, they can do a portrait. It may not be an A+ portrait, but they can do a portrait that's pretty badass. And that's a tough thing to do. I mean, I would never in my life even attempt that, but they can do that. They can do these fine line little perfect scripts on wrists. They can do some, super passable Japanese shit, like everything that's passable. It's not 100% the most amazing shit you've ever seen, but it's also like pretty fucking good. You're like, damn. And nobody will know this dude, whoever these dudes are, because they have one thing that they super excel at. But to me, that's really the most impressive shit. Like somebody coming and be like, I want a biomech half sleeve, and they're like,
I want a biomech Mother Earth sleeve, yo. Fuck.
Biomech Mother Earth. That you can do it. He'll Google that shit and be like, okay, now I see what you're talking about. It was on Ink Master season 2.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, why didn't you tell me that before, bro?
Hopefully, whoever the dude is that said Biomech Mother Earth is gonna listen to this and send me some hate mail. But I don't even know that's what he said. I know Mother Earth was in that. Bio-organic Mother Earth, fucking whatever the fuck.
I mean, but that's another reason why I think it's important to have the idea to be like. You can tell from California, I say like too much. I'm being aware of it now. No, just the fact that you have these multiple styles. You have these artists that are blending things together, but street shop artists are always the guys that really impress you. Like, and why it's always important that if you are somebody who's not really sure where you should start at a street shop. That forces you to have to do a little of everything.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
Either make it or break it. But going back to yourself, do you still, years later, we were having this conversation with a fellow artist who works out at Liquid Fetish in Fresno, I believe was the shop.
Hold on one second.
Go ahead, dude.
What's up, Tom Halbrick? We're doing a live podcast. You want to be in it? No. Put your head in. Pop your head in. This is Tom Halbrick.
Hello.
Hey.
We're at the shop.
Is that Subway coffee?
Subway coffee?
Yeah.
Oh, gross.
Drink fresh. But he was talking about it where he was very much hitting a wall, because obviously it's slow season for a lot of people. And he's at that point where he doesn't know if he wants to continue to tattoo. And I was sharing a story about how one of my coworkers, who's been doing it about 20 years, has said, every tattooer hits the 5-year wall. Whether you're living in the back of a shop, whether you're, at your mama's house or you're trying to make it work, everybody hits a point where they get discouraged, whether it be skill wise or whether it be professionally or whether it be clientele. Everybody has that mark, and it really kind of goes to show, are you really wanting to do this because you want to do it, or is it just something that you kind of fell into and you're not sure about? And the more and more you talk to some artists, you realize that they have that feeling too. As long as you've been tattooing, and as much as you've cultivated a style and a clientele, do you still feel that yourself, or do you kind of find ways to overcome doubt when it coming to like artistic ideas?
I mean, is the question, do I ever feel like I need to hang this up and get a different job?
Do you ever feel discouraged?
Yeah, daily.
Yeah, because I feel that people look at people like yourself and people who have a clientele, they have, which is stupid, but it's very true. But like, oh my God, they have so many Instagram followers. Instagram followers don't mean shit. Like, don't base your skill off of how many followers you have. Never do that. But they feel that because they can reach where you're at, problems are going to stop. Doubt is going to stop. And I always encourage other artists that are in positions like yourself, where some people look at you and think, man, he's probably made it. And to be honest about it, of like, dude, sometimes you're going to have doubts. about are you tattooing the way you want? Are you happy with your style? Are you doing enough conventions? Not enough conventions, like it's always there, because you have a lot of artists that have that doubt and then forget, well, if you just keep working, you can do something.
No, I don't. I mean, I have anxieties all the time. I get nervous for all the tattoos I do. I didn't used to, but I mean, nowadays I get anxieties, I get all that shit, and I'm not like super booked up. And you're like, oh shit, well, see people now booking into 2020, and you're like, dang, all right. But I always stay. I mean, I always try to remember that I always stay busy, just not super far out. Yeah, I get those things all the time. Like getting, but I also know that there's nothing else. Nobody's gonna pay me money to do anything else. Like my last job before tattooing was like baking bagels for Brugger's Bagels, and I'm not doing that shit again. So like that's my last skill set to fall back on. So I got to make this tattoo thing work. Especially now we just opened a shop, so I gotta I got a baby too and a house. We just bought a house. So
Congratulations, man!
Like three, we did it all this year. I just got married, had a baby, opened a shop, bought a house, got married. There's some other shit in there. There was a bunch of like life changing moves we made in this last year. Same thing with Eno. He had a baby. He just did his in different order. He got married, then bought a house, then had a baby. He did his a little bit, more traditional, I guess. But yeah, did a lot of shit this year. So I have to make now. There's no more.
And
maybe I'll go fucking.
It's a drive now. It's a drive incentive on top of what you already do, which is a great thing. Because, I mean, personally myself, when I took on a family, it did kick my ass into gear because I can't be lazy. I can't have the option of being like, oh man, you know what, whatever. Like it really does push you to do stuff that makes you better, because it's either make it or break it. But congratulations on all those things, man. That's a huge milestone.
It's a lot of shit. It's a lot of shit this year.
So let's talk a little bit about the art itself. What exactly were your biggest inspirations when you first started tattooing? Or who?
Dave Lum was like my favorite. Dave Lum had some stuff in a magazine the mid to late 90s, and I was like, this is the wildest shit I've ever seen in my life. Still is. The wildest shit I've ever seen in my life. So Dave Lum, which I to this day regret not making my way up to get tattooed by him before he quit. But yeah, he was like the main one. And I think that, Grime had that ITA article, came out like 90 whatever, 97, 98, something like that. And that was a for real mind bender,
Oh, yes.
Super duper mind bender. Oh, do we have a customer? Oh, shit. Yeah, so those were like the mind benders, of course. The whole new school shit, like when fucking, Adrian Lee and Paco Excel and all those dudes did all that shit. Mike Giant, those were all like early influences. Dave Fox, hugest. I mean, like that one's super apparent. People see a lot of my shit and they're like, oh, when I'm not there, people are like, oh, did Dave Fox do that to people? And I take that as a compliment.
Yeah, that's a good thing sometimes.
We're not changing shit up enough to, but yeah, Dave Fox, all those dudes, that, which is still some of my favorite shit to look at, Dave Fox for sure. He's still like embracing that style that's super unique to him. There's a lot of people that have had unique styles over time, and then they're like, oh wait, fuck that, get rid of it, burn all pictures of what I used to do. I don't want to make any claim to what I used to do. I never did that shit. I am strictly a traditional Japanese tattooer, always have been. It's like, no, dog, I've seen all your shit before.
That is so fucking true. I love that.
You gotta be able to look back on I post shit on my Instagram from fucking like, way like as far back as I can find, and it's like, yeah, look at this mistake. Who cares? It's fun to look at that shit and go back, but some people just want to look like they're the shit forever. But yeah, I'd say Dave Fox is probably up there as one of the main dudes, like as like, that I found in the beginning. I was like, this guy's a bad motherfucker. But before that was probably, everybody. Who the fuck doesn't like Grime, right? Like Grime was the dude. He still is the dude, but he was the dude back then that had that, he had a really unique style. But I'd say Dave Blum was the first one I saw that I was like, this motherfucker is crazy. But he was doing shit that's still, I mean, he was doing shit in the 90s and shit that was so, I mean, in the 80s that was so bonkers that, like, even now you look at it and you're like, man, that's a big old vagina you tattooed, or, you know, whatever. And it's so cool. To me, it's so cool. And this shit still looks good. You know, it's bold as shit and just really, really good looking tattoos. But those are like the early tattoo influences for sure.
Mm. What about experiences with like with tools, with like machines, with inks? Because it's funny that you really see how somebody gets to be like in the music world. People will look at drums, for example. They'll look at DW or Tama or Pro, and then they'll look at cymbals and sticks and like, all right, I'm this guy who uses this, and this. And I feel like it starts off that way when you're tattooing because you want to kind of keep everything consistent. But then as you grow older and you experiment more, you find things that sometimes you want a little bit of eternal, or you want a little bit of fusion, or you want a little bit of intense. Maybe you have an Aaron K machine and a rotary. Maybe you have an old time machine, you know. You have an assortment of different things. What did you start off with, and what did you kind of work your way through as you've progressed?
Oh shit. I've had all kinds of different things throughout the years. You know what I mean? Like I had to build my first machines back when I was an apprentice. You know, and again, that was back then you could only build a machine. I don't think anybody was selling anything that was
mass produced,
together, you know, or that wasn't put together. It just came in a box full of parts, you know, and I just looked at the dudes' machines that I worked with. You know, they gave me their machine and they're like, here, go for it. You know, like I was just trying to figure things out and forever trying to figure it out, to plug it in, to get it to not run, whatever. So they eventually helped me do it. But I don't think they knew a lot about machines either. So it was just kind of like this, like Frankenstein. Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry.
It's like, man, it sounds like a bus or something's coming through. But yeah, over the year, I mean, I've mostly used coils forever. I started using some rotaries probably like, I don't know how long ago now. I kind of pushed off on it. It's like, I don't even want to fuck with a rotary because I don't even know how to use these coils that well. How the fuck I don't want to start something new, you know? But it was Ugly Bill used to work across the street from me, and he had made all these super fancy rotaries that looked like steampunk contract. They were cool looking, you know, and some of the guys in the shop used them, and I was just thought they looked cool, and I was like, whatever. But he made one with Workhorse, with Soba from Workhorse, and Soba's been a friend of mine for a long time. Like since I started tattooing, I met him at an art show in Greensboro, North Carolina. Sweet dude. Soba's like the coolest dude ever and super knowledgeable on all that kind of stuff. He told him to bring me over one of the Workhorse ones, and I tried that, and I was like, dang, this thing's hammering it in there, you know? So I used those for a while, and then I've never used a rotary to line anything to this day. I think I tried it once and was like, I think somebody told me don't use them to line with. And I think I tried it once and was like, yeah, that's why they said don't do it. But I mean, shit, you know, I've had a shag built rotary shader for 6 years at least now, and that thing's a beast. Sounds like a chainsaw. I don't even oil that motherfucker. Every time I've oiled it throughout the years, it goes silent, and I feel like it's just not working right. Then it starts hammering again. It's like, ah! I'm like, that's where it's at. That's where it's putting it in there, you know. But it's a badass machine. But you know, I've used all kinds of different shit. As far as, you know, liners, and I got, you know, the machine I feel like taught me how to tattoo properly was Adam's Ferry Bulldog. Back in, I was working at Third Eye Tattoo in Atlanta for Crash, that runs Tattoo Artist Magazine. I was working there, and a bunch of people were like, oh, we're going to get these. I'd been tattooing a couple years, 2 or 3 years, 2 years maybe. And they're like, we're all going to get these Adams Ferry Bulldogs. And I was like, put me in. I'm on this. You know, I want to learn. I want to be a tattooer too. So they got these things, and I I remember I started tattooing one. I worked with a dude at the time that was, he did more traditional stuff, and I tried tattooing with it, and I was like, this thing sucks. And he was like, dude, he's like, you don't even have that thing turned on. He's like, crank that bitch and bury it. And I did some tribal shit, and I was like, man, that was the most velvety, like, when you do like a solid piece of black, it's a kind of velvety. And I was just like, oh shit, I got this shit all figured out now. And then it just taught me how to fucking tattoo quicker and harder, and like put that shit in there, put some black shading in there, put that, whatever. And since then I've gotten, a bunch of machines from Adam's Ferry's machines. I got some liners from them that'll fucking, punch a butter knife through your fucking arm. You know what I mean? Like you can put any liner with these things, and then like if something got, you can do whatever with. But I'd say the majority of my machines at this point are from Adam Safari. I got some Sobo ones. I got them from all kinds of people, but I'd say right now what I'm using mostly is probably some Adam Safari ones.
Nice.
And that fucking rotary. That rotary's a beast. He just came out with a rotary he did in collab with Mike Giant that I need to get this for myself for Christmas or something. I know. But then it's like I've had other rotaries since that shotgun one, and it seems like nothing fucking does it. By giving out too much information, I'm always bitching about people giving secrets, and here I am telling everybody what to tattoo with.
You know what? I don't.
There's a lot of people who tattoo like that.
You know what the funny thing is that I don't believe in the secrets thing at all. I mean, I never did. I never would, because it's always the idea of, post 98, I would say, post 2004, which were like the two bigger movements that I saw in tattooing. I would say that it was harder for people that I remember seeing an artist. I won't say the name, but I remember seeing him at the Cow Palace, and they were like, I can't stand people who give away the secrets of the trade and blah 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 and all this stuff. And they specifically had a DVD on how to tattoo, and I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. Oh, there's plenty of them out there. I know some people that made some, and it's kind of crazy. But
there are definitely some DVDs that I remember getting the Nico Hurtado DVD back in the day. And Nico's a nice guy. I've met him formally a few times, and I could not watch his DVD because he's a great tattooer, he's a great artist, but he is not a good narrator.
Yeah.
And it was really hard to be like,
you can't have everything, dog. You can't have everything.
It was. I mean, I'm sorry if anyone knows Nico personally and they're listening to this and whatever, but it's like it was very fucking hard.
You say it's 100,000 people.
I'm sorry.
How many people you say listen to this thing?
This 100,000 subscribers now.
100,000 subscribers. Somebody knows Nico Hurtado.
Yeah,
he's coming for you.
Yeah,
I'd say shit.
Yeah, he's all, I found you, fat boy.
I heard what you said about my narration skills.
Yeah, exactly. He's on narrate this.
He seems like a pretty mellow dude. He'd probably just be like, yeah, you're right. I'm not that good at narration.
Nah, he's pretty chill. His brother Matt and Jamie Sheen that used to work with them. I did something with them before, but I mean, like, it was really hard to watch a DVD when you're watching somebody and the first thing that happens is like, yeah, I'm laying in this color and I think it's a Georgia peach, and I'm laying it in, and I'm laying it in. Oh yeah, oh, wait, yeah, there's some white in there now. Yep, and I'm laying it in, and I'm like,
sounds like watching tattoos. You want me to put on your phone or something so you guys can listen to music while this is going on? Or you want to put on my phone? We got Pandora. I just don't want you guys to have to listen to me talk about me. When that's all you got to hear every day anyways, all day. Me. Here's what I think about this. I got 4 people here at the shop that will never listen to this podcast.
Oh, it's okay.
Well, not your podcast, but not this one specifically.
Yeah, no. It's completely fine. I work with 4 of my best friends, and they don't listen to one of these podcasts at all. So I feel you, brother.
Yeah, just work this out there so they don't have to just listen to me. It's sure that'll be super cool for all of them.
Give me your phone.
It's all good. You want to put on my phone?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We can still talk. I just got to figure out how to Pandora things while I do it.
Oh, no worries. Actually, if you want, I've already put out something on Instagram and on Facebook that if anyone has any questions for you that they can go and ask. If you want to have any of your guys ask anything, or as far as anyone,
want me to post something?
It's up to you, man. It's if you want to ask some Q&A, I got about 5 good ones
Oh,
right here.
oh, I see the stories. Oh wow, I look old as shit.
Nah, you have a boy's brow. That's what I'll say.
A what?
That sounds creepy.
A boy's brow?
Yeah.
That's creepy, bro.
That's going in the beginning. But
What? Let me just put on podcast. Put on a thing, not a podcast. Pandora or something for these fools. I'll just put on some music. Let me put on something.
yeah, I was gonna say you're gonna plug in the computer to listen to your podcast over the speaker.
What I should do is just plug it into this computer so they all they do is hear this thing over the loudspeaker throughout the shop. That would be hilarious. And then just videotape that. You don't even see my face. It's just their reactions to what I'm saying. Like, get the fuck
But that would be rad.
okay, so they got music going.
No worries. For anyone listening, this is just a small little intermission.
Let me post Instagram.
I should post. As we have a few seconds, a little bit of downtime, I'm going to advise everybody that if you're interested in seeing more about, we had yesterday, let me look up real quick. Yesterday we had an amazing illustrator known as Iggy Lazavich. Does awesome Halloween style inking and illustrations. And if you want to see any more of Adam's stuff, then you can go to brushesofdoom.com, and all the links for their Instagrams, websites, stores, whatever they have and give me, I will post up so you guys can directly go to them. And always remember to follow and support your local artists. Support your non-local artists. Buy something from them. I'm not going to tell you to do anything else because I'm not your fucking dad. I'm not your mom. Do it.
Do you need to come in here? No? Okay, cool. Got it here. Let me see here. What should I? How do these people ask you questions?
They can ask by, if you want to post something, then they can have them ask a question. They can just ask in the actual post, and I'll scavenge the comments. If not, then they can either tag myself and I'll read them, whatever they want to do. I have 9 now in my direct messages that are pretty good. I got about a good 60 that have come through, but most of them are like, hey bro, what's your, what beanie are you wearing?
Yeah. I'll just tell them to post below.
Yeah, that sounds perfect, and then I'll keep up with it.
Yeah.
Okay, so from there, oh, there we go. That's my neck.
I don't get shit on Instagram anymore. It's really weird. You know, like I used to get people that liked my tattoos and drawings and comment. Now I get I get half the amount, and I'll get like a comment.
It's the algorithms that they have for them.
I feel like it just kicked me in the ass like in the past couple of weeks. Like before that, it seemed fine. I remember there was like that fear of like when the algorithm happened, like everybody come click on the thing that lets you follow me. So every time I post something, it tells you to, whatever. Yeah. But like just in the past couple of weeks, I really just kind of hit a spot where they're just like, I think somebody in Instagram is like, fuck this guy, threw me out of the mix.
Really what it is that they believe it's easier to subscribe to somebody, so you have to turn on a notification. But the sad part is that if you post something, some people like myself, I won't see something from you until 5 days later, because it feels that 5 days later I need to see it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, thanks Instagram.
Maybe we don't know shit. Maybe that is when you needed to see that.
Yeah, I'm probably
5 days later. You were just gonna be like, if you saw it immediately, it would have changed something about the way your life is gonna happen.
You're completely right. I am the asshole. Thanks, Instagram.
Thank you, Instagram, for letting me know when I should see things.
Showing me the error of my ways. Okay, so I have one here. I'm going to read it off. It is from Jeremy Alex Iron. And he asks, love your work. What would you recommend for somebody that's getting into your style of tattooing? Should I go through a traditional based, sorry, he wrote this wrong. Should I go through a traditional based education, or should I go through a illustrative based education? Thanks. I would assume that's like, should he start drawing more traditional stuff, or should he just start trying to go willy nilly about it?
Well, if you're trying to do what I'm doing, you should just quit right now because
Awesome.
I don't need any more competition.
That's what you get, Jeremy. That's what you get.
No, I mean, if you're trying to, if they're just trying to become an illustrative tattooer, then I would say, I think all tattooers should have to start out by trying to draw traditional stuff, and try and, draw the things that you're going to, not that you're going to start doing traditional stuff. You're going to start with kanjis and lettering and shit like that. You should go that route and then just eventually develop your, style wise. I guess it's hard to tell somebody how to develop style wise. I always have drawn dick and fart joke tattoo. Like my drawings from when I was in 8th grade are not far off of the drawings I'm doing right now. You know what I mean? They're similar. They're probably a little bit better now, but not by a super long stretch. So I don't know how to tell somebody to develop like that. But as far as like schooling and stuff, I went to college and got a degree in illustration. I don't feel like that necessarily. It definitely wasn't necessary to have this job or be who I've become with it. But I think that I don't regret doing it. There's no to ever tell somebody that education isn't a good idea is the most uneducated thing you could ever fucking say. The more education you can get, I got friends that go to all kinds that are tattooers and just artists that are constantly trying to go take classes. You know what I mean? Like the more you can learn, the better you're going to be with anything. Yeah. I'm sure. Like it's not going to hurt. And at the worst case scenario, you can learn what not to do. Right. So I would say, as far as learning goes, I'd suggest you do as much of it as you can. You're constantly going to be. When you stop learning shit is when you're going to stop doing things properly. I think you always have to be learning. So I don't know if I'm even answering that question, but whatever.
No, I think you hit it completely on the head when it comes to the idea of, it's important to have education, but at the same time, you just got to kind of have to do it. Because if you're trying to find the formula, you're going to spend too much time looking for the right formula rather than just doing it and finding out for yourself.
Yeah.
We have one from Andrea Schneider. She asks, when sketching animals, do you use reference from actual images or books, or do you have the animal already in your head after drawing it so many times?
No, I reference everything. I Google things. I have a humongous book collection. But yeah, I'm always looking at pictures of actual animals if I'm drawing the actual animal.
Nice. We have one from Alex Baines. Alex Baines asks, if you could tattoo with 2 people that you've ever looked up to from the past, who would they be?
Well, definitely Dave Lum. If I haven't mentioned that before. And Tom Haubrick. Oh, no, he's not from the past. He's from the future. From the past. So, like, maybe people that aren't tattooing anymore?
I would interpret that as anyone that when you first started tattooing, or anyone that you haven't tattooed with.
Okay. So people that could still be tattooing.
Yeah.
It's tough. Definitely Dave Lum, because like I said, he was super inspirational and whatever back in the day. And he's like one of those people that's like not tattooing anymore. So that makes sense to go far back like that. I almost don't want to say anybody that's tattooing right now, because then they might just be like, why does that guy want to tattoo with me? Or, I don't want to tattoo that with that guy. Just like, I don't know, like Rollo would be cool. He's like, storyteller cat, like that guy, like some of those old cats for sure would just be fun to tattoo with, because you'd hear like real good stories,
Mm-hmm.
But that's most, as far as working with people, I guess I work with people to learn shit all the time. Like I'm around these guys that draw circles around me, and it's really cool to see and tattoo really well. But I think a lot of times working with people, it's like, I want to work with people that are fun and like have been through some shit to tell me, to make the day go by cool and like, tell stories and all that kind of stuff. So, some of those old cats that were tattooing back when, my mom was a kid, like back in the day. So I don't know. We'll just put Dave Lum down there for sure. And the other one, who knows? I'd have to think about it some more before I could really give you a definite.
Nice. Let's look
So
at.
it's going to happen because this is the only time I'll be on this podcast.
We have Fancy Erica 93.
Fancy Erica?
Fancy Erica.
Okay.
Her question is, do you feel that drawing at work or drawing at home benefits you more? When I'm actually painting at work, I feel that it forces me to have to do something versus when I'm at home, I'm very comfortable. Do you have a comfort zone while painting or drawing, or is it just kind of whenever you feel like throughout the day? I like this question only for one reason, is because personally myself, I feel like when I'm at home, I'm in my office, I'm in my comfort zone, and I can put headphones on. There's nobody coming in and asking questions about walk-ins or appointments, so I can really focus on what I'm doing. But then when I'm at the shop, I'm just so used to painting and drawing there that I feel like I'm doing more work there than I am at home.
Yeah. I guess for me, it's just changed a lot in the past few years or past couple of years since having the baby. You know, it's like I used to just paint at home only. I would never paint at the shop. Like I guess for a long time now, I've been, you know, when I was at Guru, I was on rent. So I was just go. I didn't have a schedule. It was just like go tattoo when you tattoo. And so I'd go in and tattoo. I wouldn't hang out there and paint. I would just go back home if I didn't have an appointment. So I was always painting at home. Forever. And then after having the baby, I'm not even painting at all, really, or not as nearly as much, you know, like she requires a lot of attention. But my mother-in-law, who is amazing and is super helpful with having this baby and all kinds of other things, she comes over the 4 days a week that I'm at work. She comes over and watches the baby. So she gets there at 8 o'clock in the morning and I run out the door. I'll come in here and I'll get drawings done. I've done some painting in here, not a lot. But that's my time now. It used to be late at night was when I would do it. Now I'm in bed early and I'm up early doing my drawings and stuff before work. So, you know, I come in here, it's pitch black. I'll have a cup of coffee, stare out the front window at the weirdos on the street for a little bit. And then I'll just start drawing right there in my booth, you know, on the chair. Even though we have this huge, the shop is huge. I can't give you a tour of it. It's ridiculously huge. We only even use half of it.
Nice.
It's crazy. But, you know, have these nice drawing tables, all this stuff in here. And I set it right up in front of my booth and just, you know, since it's right by the window, we're on the second floor too. So I can just look down at all the crackheads and whatever else is going on out there.
The business.
But that's the type of stuff I like throwing on a podcast. I'll put on a podcast and I'll just sit there and draw and paint whatever, get whatever art done I need to get done. So that's what it is now. Like I said, back in the day when I was actually producing a shitload of art, it was nighttime at home. Now that I'm mostly just drawing for tattoos and like some t-shirt stuff and occasional paintings, it's always in the morning.
Nice. Galgo Diaz asks, there was a post about you drawing on Crayola's son. How do you know Crayola, and how does the paint life and tattoo life merge? I guess
how do Crayola and what's my connection to Crayola?
I guess that's how I would read it.
Well, first of all, that's our son. He's my husband.
Oh, sweet.
No, I met Greg. I was still working in Atlanta. I'd come across his art online, and I was blown away. And, you know, I was like, this guy's the shit. So for some reason, I just emailed him and asked him if he wanted to trade a drawing, like a sketch or whatever, and he did, and which was great. You know, I've got one of his sketches. It's a pretty well-known one to this day. It goes in a couple books and graffiti magazines and shit like that. So I got that. I sent him some garbage. I'm sure he doesn't have it to this day. He probably got rid of that. But, you know, I moved out here. He was huge. Like, he played a huge role in, like, my art and, like, career. Not career, but, like, my art career, you know, like, which isn't much. I mean, you know, like, I've done a ton of art shows since I've been out here, mostly due to him putting me in them up in LA. Like, all the LA one, like, you know, that kind of stuff were all ones where he was like, hey, you should put my friend in. Hey, you should put my friend in. So I've gotten to have art hang next to a bunch of, like, really well-respected artists due to Greg being Greg's homie, you know. But he came down and, right when I moved here, he came down so we could meet, and I tattooed him. I've tattooed him a couple times. And we've just been really good friends over the years. And we used to be on a text thread with Gunner and a couple other people. And we just, every day would just be, just texting, or maybe it was emails even back then. I can't remember now. It's been so long, but it was like, here's what I did today. Here's a sketch I did. Here's a drawing I'm working on. Here's this. So it was like super cool to constantly every day just be like, bang, here's another thing. Here's another thing. Here's another thing.
Nice.
Which is kind of what I have going on now with the Swamp Wizard dudes that are like, these guys, they're machines. They're putting out so much stuff. But it's like a text thread, and it's like boom, boom, boom all day. It's like, oh shit, this guy just did, So it's inspiring, to see people doing things. But I guess Instagram's also becoming that, or has been that. You can see what people are doing. Yeah. But the Greg Ola thing, it all started because I just emailed him. I was cocky enough to think that fool wanted to trade a sketch with me. He did, and then we just been friends. He's like probably one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet. Like really, like wholesome. He probably hate me saying that, but he's really like the nicest human being you'll ever meet. And people trip out now. He's become humongously successful since he was successful when I met him, but he was like working for Treyarch making video games back when I met him. Then he made the jump to being like, I'm just going to quit. I'm going to paint and see if it works. And he's killing everybody. That guy.
I've never personally met him, but I've done a lot of work with Treckle in the past, as far as like videos and distribution. And like, God, I've never met the dude, but everyone else that I've met through Treckle, artist and company wise, that knows him has said the same thing. And it's pretty cool. We have two more right now. We have Deidro Sex, and Deidro asks if you can recommend any books or any kind of sketch art collections. What would they be?
Man, I don't know. Books. Shit. I don't know. Sketch art collections, like a book on sketches.
I would say like a art of book maybe.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite what are some of your favorite books in your collection? Like I specifically don't, like some books I have excuse me, in my collection here in the office room aren't necessarily like the biggest inspirations on my style of art, but I definitely love those books to death. So do you have anything that's like that for your collection?
Walton Ford. I got all his books. I don't know if you know Walton Ford, but you do?
I don't.
You don't? Oh,
no, I'd like to know.
He's like an illustrator, or he's like, he's a painter. Mm-hmm. Paints these gigantic watercolor paintings that are like, they look like textbook animal paintings or whatever. I don't know how you describe it, but it looks like it looks like you'd open up a textbook or like some sort of book on animals, and it would be like an old illustration of that. But he changes up a lot of things. It's really impressive, like super impressive, beautiful stuff. So Walton Ford is one I love. I got ones that are just like weird, like some old Barry McGee books, and I got an super old cartooning book that was my grandfather's, and he could draw. My grandfather would draw little cartoons on bar napkins for us and shit when we were younger. But that was his book, and he gave it to us. It was old as shit, so I have that. God, it's really tough to say. I got a bunch, tons of those, all the tattoo books, those bodysuit books and all that stuff that I love to look through. I got so many weird ones though, like just weird, like illustration books or weird artists I found just throughout, like digging through like piles of books at like swap meets and that kind of thing. Like I was definitely way more of a collector before I moved in with my girl. Like I was a tattoo hoarder. Like every tattooer is a hoarder, a collector or a hoarder. I'd go to swap meets and all that kind of stuff and just dig through old books and find like crazy shit. Just books. I got books on old like Russian iconography. That's like been some of my favorite shit to date. Mm-hmm. Russian iconography stuff, like old religious stuff. I really love, like Hindu stuff, all that kind of stuff is inspirational. So I have tons just tons of that kind of shit.
What do you know a guy named Mick Graff?
No.
Okay, so
I mean, I might. I just don't. I mean, is that his Instagram?
I'm not gonna answer his question because I think I don't know if it's being serious or satiric. But the last one we have is Rick Webster Tattoos. You know,
I know Rick Webster.
Okay, his question is: do you still do you still spit before entry or go in dry?
Well, come on, Rick. Of all people, you should know this. You should keep this between you and I, Rick. But never been big into spitting. I don't know. Yeah, sure. Whatever.
My the last question will be from myself, brother.
Okay.
What is that? Anything in your repertoire that you've learned over the years? What is probably one of the most important things you've ever learned as an artist that you can pass on to anyone that is learning currently or on the same travel as you are?
God, I feel like I need to say something like really good. Like I wish I had that last night and I could stay up all night thinking about something deep to give somebody, but I'm not that deep of a dude, really.
No, it's cool, man. What do you feel that?
I guess the main thing that I tell people that I meet that are apprentices or wanting to, do art or whatever is like be humble always. Humility is huge. Because the second you get a big head about things is when you feel like you don't need to learn any more shit. I feel like you always need to be learning. You always need to be digging through books and like figuring things out, watching things, asking other tattooers about things, or other artists, like you can always learn something from somebody. I used to tell apprentices, I was like, you just go around and keep asking until somebody gives you one. I was like, and even if you work at a place where you don't like the tattoos the dudes are doing, you can at least get a foot in the door and learn what not to do. You know what I mean? Like, you can learn from everything. So to not just be closed off, because I feel like we've all done it. I've done it, where my head's gotten too big and I'm like, fuck these guys. And then really you realize that you can learn all kinds of shit from everybody. So it's important to stay learning and, don't let some asshole tattooers make you think that going to school is stupid. Yeah. Man, you're stupid for taking them classes.
Yeah, how dare you?
How dare you try and learn how to draw things right?
Yeah, exactly. How dare you learn how pedals work on a rose?
Naked dudes? Fuck you. Yeah, exactly. We don't draw naked dudes. It's like, go do whatever you want. Go learn. The more you learn, the better you're going to be at anything.
Yeah. You guys don't draw naked.
You catch doctors telling like young doctors like, oh, that shit's gay. We don't do that shit. It's like.
You draw
that's stupid.
Yeah, but also don't be the same guy that's like walking into a shop and be like, "You guys don't draw naked dudes. I'm out of here."
Yeah, don't be that dude either. Yeah. Don't be that dude that thinks that he's the shit because he got a master's in oil painting. Doesn't shit tattooing. You know what I mean? Which takes you right back to the first thing I said: humility.
Yes.
Be humble and do as much as you want to do. If you want to be that guy that oil paints, what landscapes and whatever else, do it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt your art career, whether it's an art career, a tattooing career, or whatever. It's not going to hurt it. But, also don't act like you're better than anybody, asshole.
And with that being said, Adam, thank you so much for having the time, man, to sit down and bullshit.
Thank you very much for even caring what I had to say about anything.
Oh, dude, it's my privilege. I hope one day to actually visit your shop and
come on down,
see
hang
your
out.
work in person, man. For anyone that's out there that doesn't know who you are, where can they find you? Whether it be a website, Instagram, store, so they can go follow.
I think I still have honkycong.com. I still have it. I don't know what's on there. There's probably some old tattoos, so maybe don't check that out just yet. At Honky Konger on Instagram is where everything goes that's, up and new. If you're not on Instagram, I have, I think it's honkykongshop.com.
Yeah, the Honky Konger doesn't come up. I'm looking at it right now.
No, it would be honkykong.com, not Honky Konger. Oh. I used to have Honky Kong was my Instagram, and then I believe a jaded ex-girlfriend deleted it. That was like 4 years ago, and I was cracking with Instagram, and she deleted it, which was detrimental. But once you delete your account, you can't get the same one. So I just put the ER on the end. The ER is really, it's just always been Honky Kong. So honkykong.com was the website. Honky Kong at Honky Konger is because I got a shitty ex-girlfriend. I don't know if you've ever had that, but so that got deleted. So now I'm at Honky Konger on Instagram. And let me just check this real quick. I think it's honkyKongshop.com. So just put HONKEYKONGSHOP.com and you can buy some t-shirts or pins or whatever I have on there at the moment.
Nice.
Future. Right. There's me more stuff. There's me hoodies coming out. There, trying to get people geared up for the winter, these freezing cold San Diego winters.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm surprised.
It's cold out here.
Yeah,
it's cold.
All those snowstorms. I'm surprised you guys even have power right now.
See me wearing a beanie. This isn't because I'm a hipster, 40-year-old hipster. It's because it's freezing out here.
Adam, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it. For everyone else out there, as always, like I say, you can always catch anything about the guests we have on today or any previous ones on brushesofdoom.com. Everything, okay, is free. I don't charge for a damn thing. You guys need to learn who these people are. You guys need to go ahead and show them some love, buy some merch, and get it from them, because these are the people that drive you to do better and more. And as far as the whole thing, we're not gonna, I implore you to follow Adam at Honky Konger and show him some love. I'm not going to tell you to do anything as far as my podcast, my stuff, because you know what? I'm not your fucking dad. I don't tell you what to do. You do what you want. You know what? You know, whatever, you do what you want. So thank you again, Adam, again. And I will see you guys all next week.